A little housekeeping. We are going to be recording this session, so that way people that weren't able to join us today are able to learn a little bit more about the Gilman Scholarship. I noticed a couple names out there, and so does Dr. Cook. So either you've already started the application process or you've talked to us before about the Gilman or maybe another scholarship. So we're excited that you're here to kind of learn a little bit more about the application process. We're going to be doing some slides first, and Dr. Cook will talk about the Gilman application itself, and I'll kind of talk about the program selection with Education Abroad. But then we're also going to hear from Jonathan and Allison, who are Gilman alumni themselves, and you'll get to hear a little bit more about their experiences abroad. So with that, I am going to go ahead and share my screen. All right. Is that visible to everybody? Mm-hmm. Beautiful. All right. So let's take her away. Dr. Cook, you want to tell them who makes this all possible?
Yeah, so the Gilman Scholarship is a big bag of money from the U.S. Department of State to help you pay for a study abroad experience. And I like that they give you this this paragraph here on this first slide because Gilman is a program of the Department of State. It has this mission at its core to promote mutual understanding between the people of the U.S. and people of other countries by facilitating opportunities for academic, professional, athletic, and other cultural exchange. So if Gilman is helping to pay for your study abroad experience, part of how you convince them to give you the money is that you convince them that part of your mission while being abroad, in addition to taking classes and having fun and traveling, is to be this sort of citizen diplomat and this sort of cultural ambassador. So hold that in your brain as we move on to the next slides. If you are thinking that you're not a good fit for study abroad or a good fit for Gilman because, oh, I'm first gen, nobody in my family's ever been abroad, or people who look like me don't travel abroad, travel abroad is expensive. I don't know why I'm saying travel now. The study abroad is expensive. I don't know where I might go. Gilman is really good about showing you that you are not alone. In fact, one of Gilman's mission points is they want to diversify and expand the types of students who tend to study abroad. And if you are Southern, if you are from Alabama, also attending a school in Alabama, you are part of that swath of students that tends not to study abroad. So you are exactly the kind of person that Gilman is wanting to support. Can you do the next one? Thank you. So Gilman can support you with up to $5,000 for any semester abroad, as long as you're spending at least 3 weeks in the same place, so 21 days. I don't need to read through the semesters. You can also apply for bonus money if you are studying one of these languages in a country where the language is spoken. You can apply for this bonus critical need language award money that could boost. If you're getting the whole $5,000 from Gilman, but getting the critical need language award is going to take you all the way up to $8,000. And that might not sound like it might sound like a lot. That is a lot of money. But this is also stacking on top of what your financial aid pays in. Other scholarships that you might be applying for through UAB. We have a lot of those. Felicia can mention some of those. Also, awards that are available to you through your study abroad program provider. So you're able to stack this money on top of other money that's coming in from different places. So Gilman isn't the only pot of money that's helping support your study abroad. If you are applying for one of these languages, and it's wonderful if you are, you'll have to write just one additional essay in your Gilman application, but it's all about why you want to study this language and why this makes sense to you. And if you've chosen to study Swahili wherever, you have a good reason for why you want to be studying this language. So the prompts are not that hard. When we get to talking about the application itself, you'll see you have all the information you need to write good essays. What's the next slide?
First, Dr. Cook, I wanted to double check here on the Critical Need Language Award. It says something about proficiency testing, but do the students need to be proficient in the language to be able to apply for this? Okay.
No, it might be testing at the back end to see how far you've progressed in your language study.
All right, cool. So if you are beginning language learner, don't be afraid to try one of these languages.
Yeah. So here are the basic Gilman eligibility requirements. Because it is a U.S. Department of State program, you do need to be a U.S. citizen. You need to be an undergraduate student. This one is not open to grad students. And you need to be receiving or eligible for the federal Pell Grant in this semester that you are applying for the award. The program you've picked out, the study abroad program you've picked out, should be credit bearing. And it should be in a country or area of the world with an overall travel advisory level of 1 or 2. I will say right now, everywhere is a higher number than that. You can still apply. I was talking to a student who's applying for a program in Scotland for the spring semester. Scotland right now, I think, is 3 or 4. I mean, nobody's traveling anywhere. And so the student was very worried that, oh no, I can't apply for this because right now this country is at this level. If they're at a high number, if they're at a level 3 or 4 because of COVID, we're assuming and hoping that that number is going to go down when we get COVID under control. So you will still, the point is, if the number is higher because of COVID, you can still apply there because you're applying for the future when hopefully the travel advisory has gone down to a 1 or 2. And then you do need, for UAB students, you need to be looking at a minimum 3-week long program. So that's 21 days. The two week one isn't for us. So your minimum program length is 3 weeks.
And I'll try sorry.
Go ahead. I was just going to say there's virtual programs, and Gilman supports internships. We had a student in the spring before COVID do a fashion internship in London. So, and the internships are also credit bearing. So that can be really useful, especially if you're in a degree program that requires an internship.
Absolutely. And something I was going to chime in here about the 3-week long program requirement. Some of you guys that aren't applying to semester long programs or summer long programs, and you're just interested in doing something that might fit just that 3-week or maybe just over it, there are some faculty-led programs too that are meeting that requirement and that are going for 3 weeks, maybe 4 weeks, so that you're going with a group of UAB students and a professor you're probably familiar with to get 1 or 2 classes out of the way, and it still is eligible for you to apply for Gilman. So I'll talk a little bit more about those available programs as we proceed throughout the presentation.
I will be honest, I know a little bit less about virtual program eligibility, so I'm going to straight up read this slide. It does need to be online at an institution based outside of the US. You cannot use Gilman to pay for US-based things. It needs to be through an exchange program or a program provider. A virtual faculty-led program would be okay. Virtual internships, a lot of Gilman folks had to transition from in-person to virtual things if they won in the last cycle. So Gilman is already working with virtual programs. Could also be a virtual intensive language program at an institution based outside of the US. And then for that, you would be eligible for the Critical Language Enhancement Award, I would imagine. You can also think about an internationally focused virtual program. So why is that last bullet even there? That's the entire point of this slide.
Yeah, I know. I think it's a little bit redundant, but I know for a lot of you guys out there, virtual programs is probably not the first thing you think of. And I to be completely honest, it's not what a lot of us in our field have thought of before as well. I think it's been something on a dream to-do list, and now it's finally becoming a reality. But it is working out very well for a lot of students that might just be finishing their degree and they can't quite fit in like a whole semester abroad, or maybe you're like a primary caretaker in your home, or maybe you just want something that's like super, super, super affordable. So virtual programs can check a lot of boxes. And I'll say they are just as many virtual program options out there as there are in-person options. And we have them in every country, so you can like focus in a particular area, but while still doing so like at home, you know, in your living room. So that's really nice. And with the internships specifically, because there are a lot of virtual internships, you have a really great opportunity to make connections that way. And so if you are wanting to have sort of international career or kind of break into your field and you're sitting at that junior or senior level status, this is a really amazing jumping off point to be able to pursue that a little bit further.
I hadn't thought about this until right now, but a virtual program might also be very good for you if you are engaged in undergraduate research and you're not able to travel, or it's harder to schedule and travel over the summer because you need to be in the lab doing work. A virtual program could be a really good option for you.
Absolutely. And if you're interested in credit-bearing virtual research, guess what? We got you covered there too. We actually work with one of our exchange partners in Sydney, Australia, and they have a course you can take called Taste of Research, and they're converting that to a virtual format this spring. So if you're interested in that, we can definitely abide there.
The Gilman MCCAIN Scholarship is a new kind of arm of the Gilman Scholarship. It is $5,000, so it's not like with Gilman, you can get up to $5,000. With Gilman MCCAIN, it is a flat $5,000 for dependents of active duty service members. The eligibility is a little bit different, but otherwise the structure for Gilman versus Gilman MCCAIN is basically the same. So you need to be a US citizen, again, State Department program. You need to be an undergraduate student pursuing a credit-bearing program. We've already talked about the travel advisory, minimum 3 weeks. What's in blue right here is how it's different. So you need to be a recipient of any type of Title IV federal financial aid, and then a dependent child of an active duty military member in one of these divisions. We've not had, you could be UAB's first winner of the Gilman MCCAIN. It is a brand new, oh, there's the website. It is a brand new award. They've been doing several deadlines over the course of the year, trying to get lots of people to apply for it and really trying to roll it out. So if you meet these criteria, please talk to us about Gilman MCCAIN. We would love for you to be UAB's first winner for Gilman MCCAIN.
Yeah, or also I'll do a shameless plug here, but if you're also receiving other types of veteran benefits because you have an active duty service member in your family, then there are other ways you can use that aid as well. And our office works with veteran services as well to help make sure that that can travel with you. So talk with us about that if that sounds like you as well. Oh, okay. Well, you covered you did a wonderful summary.
This slide is confusing too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just skip it. Pretend this slide isn't here. This is confusing. Gilman tries to do too much sometimes. This makes it look like there are two ways to apply, which is not true. There is one way to apply, and it is through the Gilman website. You complete an online application in which you talk about your study abroad program, you write some essays, you have some transcripts, you select your advisors, which will be, it will be Ashley Nyer, the Director of Education Abroad, and it will be one of 2 financial aid advisors. Once you turn your application in, then the advisors get a bump that they need to go certify that what you have put in is correct. And so that's what that step 2 is. It's not anything you need to do. It's something that happens on the back end, and they just check everything and then send it on forward to Gilman. So you just worry about the online application. And you'll notice in this list of online application items that there is no letters of recommendation. That is pretty unique to Gilman in that there's no other voices in the application aside from yours. Your study abroad and financial aid advisors aren't even contributing any verbiage or any support for you. They're just checking boxes. So it is all on you in the essays to make a clear and compelling case for why you need to be in this country at this time, or why you need to still be in Birmingham but doing this virtual thing, why this is going to be important for you in your major and in your how it fits in with your future plans. So the essays are super important for your Gilman application. The first essay you write, and they're all really long, 7,000 characters is a lot of space. But they want you to cover a lot in this statement of purpose. Think of it as a personal interview. I think this slide is confusing too, because it makes it look like you're going to be interviewed, but you're not. They're never going to talk to you. Gilman reviewers do not talk to you. They read your application and then talk about you behind your back with other reviewers and then decide. Felicia and I have both reviewed for Gilman. It is true. I mean, we say positive things because we want to give away as much money as we possibly can. So the statement of purpose is about you and the program that you have chosen and your goals. So you need to have a really good understanding of the program you have chosen, because you've chosen this program in Thailand over this other one in Taiwan over this other one in Hong Kong because you want to be in Thailand, or you want to be in Scotland over Australia. So you have to make a really compelling case for not only why this program with the coursework it's going to give you at the university you're going to be at, which is very exciting, and the city that the university is in, which has all of these opportunities for you to explore, but also the country, why you need to be here in the country. And then if you're applying for a virtual program, think about those questions from a different angle. What country is this virtual program based through? Are you doing language? Are you not doing language? Why is it important for you to do something virtual as opposed to something in person? So you're still, explaining the context that you're working with. Maybe you're a non-traditional student and have children. Maybe you're a primary caretaker for someone. Maybe you're, doing a research project in your home lab and you can't leave, but this is going to give you a way to fill in a gap or get an internship opportunity or whatever. Your statement of purpose also Gilman wants to know, because you're going to be abroad representing the new U.S. and meeting people, most Gilman scholars are going out of the country for the very first time. And that can be a really difficult challenge to overcome, because you've never been to Spain before. How do you know how you're going to react when people are speaking Spanish at you, and maybe you don't speak very good Spanish or any Spanish at all? So how are you at handling yourself outside of your comfort zone? How are you at overcoming challenges and working through things that are difficult or that might stoke your anxiety in a scary way? So this is all that's going to go into that very first essay. Your second essay is a little bit shorter, but 3,000 characters is still a lot. They want to see how you're going to impact your community while you're abroad, and also how you're going to impact your community once you come back. So this part of the second essay wants to know how you're going to be that cultural representative, how you're going to be that bridge. So think about your experience as a US citizen. When Gilman wants to diversify the types of students who go abroad, they really mean it. So there are as many ways of being an American as there are Americans in the country. So talk about, maybe you're from the South, maybe you're from a rural area, maybe you're the children of immigrants. Maybe you're going to be the very first person in your family to ever leave the state, the region, the country. Talk about that. These things that might feel like they're liabilities really aren't. Talk about how you envision your life in your host country. How are you going to seek opportunities to be engaged in your host culture? How are you going to, not shy away from opportunities to make friends, or to learn about, to come to this culture as a learner, to come to this culture with some humility. So it's just how are you going to kind of humble yourself and learn? How are you going to engage with your host culture? What's the next one?
Seeking opportunities to have meaningful interactions. And I think for me, I feel like this also kind of ties back to seeing yourself within an American context. I speak with a lot of these students who come back from being abroad, and before you guys have the opportunity to go abroad, we often don't get the opportunity to think of ourselves as like an American, because we're in it every single day. And you have other aspects of your identity that are more salient while you're in the United States. But while you're abroad, when you tell somebody you're American, that's coming with a whole bunch of perspectives that they already have about the United States. And when we're talking about meaningful interactions with the people in your host culture, that's an opportunity to kind of shift that perspective, because sometimes those outlooks might not always be positive. And so you being basically not only an ambassador of UAB, but kind of an ambassador of the United States while you're abroad. You have that opportunity to kind of change that dialogue and tell them about your own experience with being a US citizen.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, they did break it out into two different essays. Now your question makes so much more sense, Allison. Essay 3 gives you 3,000 characters, which again is a lot. And this is where you're going to pay it forward, where they want to know how you're going to take what you have learned while you have been abroad and bring it back. So how will you give back by inspiring others to study abroad? So you're going to show how you've learned about being an effective citizen diplomat while you're abroad, how you've made those connections, how you're going to tap into maybe previous experiences you've had, joining a new group, making new friends, making connections with people who are different from you, how that's going to inform you being abroad and how you interact with others, and then how you're going to show others that it's possible. If somebody like me can do it, of course you can do it too, because you are like me. So how are you going to inspire other people to study abroad? UAB students tend to like to do presentations for their follow-on service project, but that's your options are not limited there. The Gilman website actually gives you a really nice list of possibilities for what the service project could look like. And it does include presentations, but it could also be like running a workshop. It could be going back to your high school and, talking to the graduating seniors who are getting ready to go on to college. It could be doing outreach for the fellowships office or for the education abroad office. It could be something in your home community or in your adopted community of Birmingham, maybe. Whatever you decide to do, the readers like to know that you have a very clear plan in mind, that it's not just like, oh, I think I might try to do a presentation to my sorority and we have meetings on Saturdays and I'll probably talk to them. That's vague and anybody can do that. We guess that I haven't given you very many plans for how I'm going to talk to my sorority in our Saturday meetings. So you want to give as detailed a plan of action as you possibly can. Talk about who you want to meet, what tools you're going to be able to utilize if it's like campus resources, or you're going to need to partner with an office like the fellowships office or the education abroad office or whatever. A timeline if that's appropriate. One of the applicants this year she got mildly TikTok famous over the summer. And so she's planning to use that platform to do very short sort of, here's how I'm handling my life abroad today, TikToks. People have also had, they have a YouTube channel. And so they're going to post videos about their time abroad and what they're doing, or they're going to use their social media platforms to help document their time abroad, and then use that, whatever tools they've built while they're there, to help facilitate whatever their project is when they come back. So I like to see it when they have that two-part thing. So you're working on it while you're there. Allison has a really interesting perspective, and I'm sure she'll talk about this when it's her turn, but she has a really interesting perspective on this service project, as Gilman kind of gave her a new service project, like, hi, maybe you can do this. I don't know if you want to talk about that now or if you want to save it.
No, I can talk about it now if you want.
Yeah.
So yeah, I went through the whole process, applied and got accepted, and then I proposed a whole different project than what I ended up doing. After I was accepted, right before I went abroad, I got an email asking if I'd be interested in working with an organization called Reach the World, and it was another application that I had to do. But basically, Gilman and Fulbright recipients can apply, and they pair you with a classroom in the US. So I was partnered with a middle school in Kentucky. And while you're abroad, you are like Skyping them and writing stories and sharing with them the whole time, basically just introducing kids in the US to life abroad and what that looks like, to kind of spark their interest at an early age. They're still partnering, Gilman's still partnering with Reach the World. So if you do get the scholarship, this could be an opportunity for you as well. Just kind of be on the lookout in your email inbox, because I almost overlooked it. And then I was like, wait, this is a lot cooler than what I had said I was going to do. I'd much rather do this. But basically, I just like shared my story while I was abroad. And then when I got back, I just had to fill out like a last survey and submit that. And that counted as my follow-up project. So if you're interested in doing something like that, like Gilman also just kind of hands you different opportunities that you can get involved in as well.
We might be beating a dead horse, but I'll say we have like a lot of students do really creative things. And I've read when I've been reviewing these Gilman applications, super cool projects. And so if you have something where you're just like, oh, I don't know if I can do that, like talk to Dr. Cook about it, because it might be something that's creative enough that we're just like, wow, like no one's ever offered something like that before. And that might just be the one thing that kind of makes your service project really memorable to reviewers reading your application. Some that I've seen that have stuck with me, I had a student that was not going abroad for art, but was very artistic. And so they held a gallery when they returned, and of the art that they sketched while they were abroad, of different scenes that they saw. So I thought that that was really neat. I had another student that was bilingual, and so they created a presentation in both English and Spanish to give to their community back home. So that way students that were predominantly Spanish speaking could also see about their opportunities for going abroad. So there's literally a wealth of things that you could do. And if you're already involved with research at UAB, or you've been involved in Expo, Education Abroad is now going to be involved in Expo going forward. So if you wanted to present at Expo and that's a platform you're comfortable with, that's something that you could definitely plan a feasible timeline and be able to tell Gilman about being able to present there within the Education Abroad category. So.
And this is the essay that you unlock only if you're going to pursue that critical need language award. Is it a critical need language? Yes. If it's on the list, yes, it is. In what way is it a critical need language maybe for your field? Why is it important for someone who has your background, who is studying what you're studying, who wants the career that you're studying? Why is it important for an American here to know this particular language? Maybe you have a heritage connection to the language that you're proposing to study. Then it becomes critical to your identity as well. So that's something that you can talk about as well. Is it a language that's predominantly spoken in the country you're going to? It's better if it is. How does it relate to your academic or career goals? Again, if you're pursuing one of these languages, like if you know you want to do Swahili, you've probably thought through these things. You know, why are you passionate about Swahili and working so hard to try to get training in it? So you've probably given this a lot of thought. What are your motivations for improving your language proficiency beyond, you know, right now, but then even beyond? How are you going to maintain whatever gains you might make while you're studying this language on your Gilman Scholarship? You only get 2,000 characters for this one. I mean, this is the smallest essay, but it's also a bonus essay, but it's enough. But it's just making a good case for why you need this language. And if this is a language that's spoken natively in the country you're studying abroad in, and you're doing like a homestay or something, or even if you're not doing a homestay, thinking about ways that you're going to make your personalized language program that you're kind of building yourself, how are you going to make it as immersive as possible? How are you going to force yourself to use this language that you're maybe not so good at to make the best use of your time while you're in this country that speaks this language? Do you want to talk about selection criteria, since you have reviewed more recently than I have, Felicia?
Yes. Let me briefly look at these real quick.
Don't want to.
So no, it's all good. So basically, when reviewers are looking at your application, of course, we're reading your essay, but there is some other aspects of your application that we're looking at beforehand. And some of this is also embedded within those essays. So you'll probably get like 2 opportunities to write that down. We are looking at destination, and also how your destination and the impact of the particular program that you've chosen is matching up with whatever academic and career goals you've kind of outlined within your essay. So if you're saying something to the effect of, you know, I'm a public health major and I'm really concerned with working with impoverished populations in Southeast Asia, but then you tell me you're going surfing on the Gold Coast in Australia for a semester, that's going to be something that reviewers are taking into account and saying, this doesn't really match up. I think this person really just wants some beach time, and not really doing things that are matching up with your goals. So it's important that you're working with our office and with the peer ambassadors and myself to find that program that's really tackling what you've talked with us about for what you want to do for your future. As far as the community impact abroad, and upon return home, this is where we're really looking at those 2 essays about how you're being a good US ambassador, UAB ambassador while you're abroad, and then the follow-on service project. Within that criteria, we're kind of looking for uniqueness, creativity, but also that you've given some deep reflection to it. It can't just be like, well, I'm hoping to interact with the cultures in my host country by eating their food and speaking with all the people and things like that, because that's something that every single person is saying on their essay. So you really need to go deeper than surface level and talk about what kind of connections you want to build. How do you want to represent the United States? How do you want to translate your experience when you come back home? Academic preparedness. Something to note that's interesting about the Gilman is there is no GPA requirement. So we are not looking at high achieving students. So this isn't just for honors students. Academic preparedness means, does your transcript basically reflect that you look prepared for this? So, if a freshman applies, why is the freshman applying? So academic preparedness could be a lot of things, particularly when I was looking at transcripts. When I saw a student that had like a rough semester the first time they're here in college, I'm like, okay, rough semester. But then I would see that their trajectory of their courses got better and better. And so I saw that that student was prepared to have a semester abroad. But if the semester you're applying, we're seeing Fs on that transcript, and we're seeing kind of like a lack of motivation for doing the work within your classes now, it is safe to assume that maybe you're not prepared to do your classes abroad too, because there's extra rigor that comes with those courses as well. Diversity of background and experience. I think that there is a lot of weight on this particular criteria because, like we've talked about before, Gilman and the US Department of State wants to see that all these people that don't traditionally get to study abroad are able to study abroad. So diversity of background can be things like you are the primary caretaker, you're a non-traditional student, maybe you're a first-gen student, maybe you're bilingual. And like Dr. Cook mentioned earlier, just by nature of you being from the South and applying from Alabama, that is an aspect of diversity too that we might not see because we're living in it. But there are not a lot of people from the South that get to travel abroad. So that kind of ties into that experience. And I think that one definitely plays into the favor of you guys that are applying. I didn't read any of the critical need language scholarship essays my last time around with reviewing, but this ties in with that optional essay that we just got done talking about. So you need to be able to identify the reasons for your want and proficiency of that language. It's not just like you wake up one day and you're just like, I think I'll learn Punjabi. You obviously have a reason for pursuing that. So talk about those reasons as deep as those may go.
I want to add one thing about diversity of background and experience. If you're sitting there and you're thinking, I am not diverse, I do not have any interesting experiences, I'm a very boring person, please come and talk to me. Make an appointment to talk to Felicia, because I can guarantee you are not a boring person and you have interesting experiences. They're just, like Felicia keeps saying, you're just living it. It's just your daily. So you're not seeing yourself from an outside perspective. So you are worthy of applying for this award and being seriously considered for it. There are 2 application cycles for Gilman. One is due October the 6th, which is very soon, and the other is due in March. Gilman is really nice in that they give you 2 bites at the apple for an application. So if you want to apply for a summer, program, you can apply in October And then if you're selected to get funding for that summer program, great, you're done. But if you're not selected for that summer program, you can apply again in March. You can revise your application, learn from past mistakes. Maybe you've given more thought to your program. Maybe you came in at the very last minute and you just threw together your application kind of slapdash, and maybe that's why you weren't selected. You can try again. The same thing if you want to apply, you can do this for like later semester programs as well. I'm not making this make much sense. You can apply. You can see on the bubble that it says October 2020 deadline. So you're applying for a study abroad program that's going to start anywhere in calendar year 2021. So for spring, for summer, for fall. And it's going to be a similar breakdown. It's going to have some overlap into the next year for the March deadline. For the March deadline, you're able to apply for a summer program, for a next academic year program, for a fall program. So you're able to apply twice, basically. So plan ahead. You know, maybe you're not wanting to like throw in right now because COVID makes things scary and unsteady in a new weird way, but you can be looking ahead to maybe fall of 21 or like maybe spring 22, which seems buck wild to say out loud. So you can make these plans way far ahead of time, and Gilman is going to be here for you. October and March deadlines do not change. Don't worry about where it says advisor deadline. Don't worry about that. That's the deadline that your advisors have to check yes or no, basically, on your boxes. You just worry about that applicant deadline.
I will say too that I wish more students took up the opportunity to reapply if they don't get that first shot, because we as reviewers will sometimes notice that, because you can mention that in your essay, and that's something that we will take note of. But also just a success story from a student reapplying. I had a student that applied for last October's deadline. She didn't get it, and she was feeling discouraged. And I was like, no, let's do it again. Let's try. We just tweak these couple things. And now she's got it for this upcoming summer. So, and she got like $3,000. So I'm just like, it's possible. Just do it. We'll tweak it. We'll make it happen.
Persistence pays off.
Exactly.
These are some of the things that we've also been talking about already. Creating a compelling story that ties together, that connects all of the dots. Because again, your readers are not going to get to meet you. Your voice is the only voice that they're hearing in your application. So you have to make sure you're connecting those dots and you're telling that story so we can see why you need to study abroad, you know, why it's making sense for you. Start the application early. It's not due until October, which does seem like a long way away, even though it's not. Start early so you can go through those revisions, so you can bring your essays to me or even to Felicia or to the Writing Center, so you can get lots of eyes and lots of feedback on it. Be your truest self. Tell stories that are true for you. Tell the story that only you can tell, because you do have that story in you. And these applications can be very scary. And I know we've like shouted a lot of information at you already in this application, but again, I'm going to say it again. You are worthy and you are good enough to apply for this scholarship and win.
These are just some other tips too. And I think that we've already hit a lot of these, but as far as like the follow-on service project, I think a lot of students applying for this give the most like thought to this, and they're most concerned about this particular essay. And I will say the answers are usually right there in front of you. Think about what you're already involved in. Think about what you have been involved with in the past and who you're most interested about sharing this message with, because that's going to direct you in the way that you should do your follow-on service project. So it really doesn't have to be a scary thing at all. And more than anything, if you don't apply, you'll never get it. You know, if you don't ask, the answer is always going to be no. That's the thing. So it's worth taking the jump into the application and trying for it, because we've seen so much success with students working with Dr. Cook and myself to make it happen. As far as finding a program, that's something that I think you guys on the call right now have been either in the throes of doing, or you've already found a program you're applying for. But those that might be watching this recording in the future, it's something that takes a little bit longer than just going on our website and being like, that's it. You know, it's going to take talking with you to find out what your goals are right now at UAB, but also for your future. So that way you're working with myself and with peer ambassadors in our office to have like the best options laid out in front of you. The best steps for doing this, I just kind of like laid it out in a 3-step process here. We have over 200 program options on our website. So when I say view program options, I don't mean spend your whole weekend getting overwhelmed looking through our website and seeing like, well, I'm kind of interested in Vietnam, but I also could easily go to Costa Rica, you know, checking all these out. Think about a couple like areas you might be interested in, or like one thing that's really important to you. Like maybe it's affordability. Maybe the biggest thing for you is to be able to have an internship abroad. Maybe you just need like a couple core classes to get out of the way. So think about like the 2 or 3 things that are most important to you, and then bring those to a meeting with a peer ambassador. These are people within the Education Abroad office who just got back from being abroad in the past year, maybe year and a half. So they know about this experience. We have one of them on the call with us today. So Allison is going to be your main girl if you're applying for Gilman and you want to talk about how that intersects with finding a program. And then our application is fully online. So once you do find that program, you'll just be able to basically go through an easy checklist on our online application portal. And if you really have no idea where to start, or you just want to get some other information, we're actually having our Education Abroad Fair next week. It's the week of September 14th through the 18th. And it's all virtual, it's all online. So I don't know if you're able to click this link while I'm doing the PowerPoint, but if not, I will throw it in the chat for you guys later, or perhaps Allison would be so kind as to send that link to you guys. But you could also look it up on the UAB campus calendar. If you just type in Abroad Fair, it will show up. But we will basically have all the programs that are available listed on this fair website for you to explore, watch videos about students being over there, get to see photos from alumni. And then next Friday, we will have a morning session and an afternoon session where we will have people that are leading programs abroad, as well as alumni there to answer your guys' questions in person. So the cool part about this too, if you're just like, I'll just look on my own to add a little flavor to it, we're also doing a giveaway. So if you just like register and participate and ask us a question on our Friday Zoom session, you could be entered to get a free passport to help you go abroad. So that is a huge benefit. Alumni benefits. I think I might let, well, I'll talk about the non-competitive eligibility, but I think I'd like to let Allison and Jonathan talk about the other lists of benefits here. For non-competitive eligibility, for those of you that are interested in pursuing a career in the federal government after you graduate UAB, or whatever your career trajectory might be, this means that if you're applying for a government job, you are given favor over certain applicants that might not have had experience with Gilman before. So if they see that you have had Gilman in the past, they're going to take that into consideration for whatever government job you might be applying for. Dr. Cook, do you know if that also applies for like state government or local government, anything like that? Or is
I think it's just, I feel very certain it's just federal.
Okay, cool. And these other aspects, Jonathan or Allison, do you want to tackle a couple of these bullet points?
You got it, Jonathan.
All right, so the Gilman Scholar Network is an online site you can head to, and it has access to all of your peers that are participating on the website, their experiences, what they're doing, where they're going, and it will also give you access to a whole nother sort of list of advisors that are already in the fields that you're now kind of pursuing yourself towards. So it's almost kind of like its own little social network to help you continue doing what you've already started doing. That'll include lists. I mean, almost everything here you can pretty much find on the Gilman Scholar Network. It has the seminars and career workshops. It'll have links and notifications of when that kind of stuff is happening and when it's going on, ways you can sign up and register for it. It's talking about expanding your career development, skill development. All of these things are just all kinds of different ways that you can find to keep on studying what it is you've already started doing. Something I found from messaging the State Department after this last semester is they actually are partnered with several grad school programs as well. For me, I'm studying international relations, so they have a grad school, the Middlebury Institute of International Relations in Monterey, California. And I think if I read it right, they can give me up to $10,000 a semester towards my grad school that I go there, or $10,000 a year. I'm not 100% sure right now without looking at it. But there are a lot of different connections that can get you to further on your career. That non-competitive eligibility is huge when you're thinking about what your career track's going to be, because these types of careers can be a 20-year track. It's a commitment that you're putting in, and that's they're investing in you, and they're hoping that you'll be able to help them out later in that kind of sense.
Yeah, I'll also add about the seminars and workshops. So they host different like get-togethers basically throughout the year in all different cities across the US. And you can apply to be a part of the workshop. And they also offer like travel stipends. So like there were some in Houston, Texas, and some in California this past year. And you can apply for a travel stipend where they'll actually pay for you to go and attend the workshop, and they cover all kinds of things. So they talk about environmental issues and health issues, and kind of just you can choose what topics you're interested in, but it's only open for Gilman alumni. So you get to kind of get together with like-minded people and learn more about the specific topic that you're interested in. So that's a really neat opportunity.
So would you guys like to talk about your experiences as far as like where you went, what you did, and a little bit about like how Gilman helped you out that business?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'll start with this one. I was this past spring received the Gilman Scholarship to study with Ahmed East, which is a program that was operating inside of Jordan. In the city of Amman. I applied for the plain Gilman Scholarship as well as the language scholarship. And this is where I made a note to go back. There are some language requirements where they want you to have a minimum level of proficiency, and certain languages they favor more over others. They have those listed on the website unless they've updated and changed those, because they will every time they go through. The classes that we took and literally just the immersion, we were studying everything from the geopolitical situation inside of Jordan to the social situations that are inside of Jordan. So the problems they are facing with, the very different style of government, from having a kingdom versus like our style of our democracy, and the different people that you meet and get to interact with is a huge part of it. And that's where you always have to keep in mind that the entire time you're there, you're the American that's in the room. Like you're the minority that's around there. So in everything that you're doing, you're going to be representing this country. What you do is what people will then expect from other Americans. If they ever meet, there are a lot of people that you'll meet while you're abroad. They'll never see another American possibly for the rest of their life in person. You're going to be the one chance they get to see who we are, and to make that impact on them. And it's just something to keep in mind with, because especially like if you're on a university setting, there are also other teenagers and people who are rowdy inside these cities, and you could get yourself in trouble if you weren't keeping track of yourself and paying attention. I mean, the same things and temptations that happen here happen there. And it's just something to keep in mind. But instead of thinking of that as something to worry about, it's something just to like for me, it was just the way I viewed how I was there and what I was doing. So it was more exciting and fun for me because it led to conversations about like, well, what's this like in America and what's that like? And then me asking the same things back, like how things are different, and having that intercultural exchange is really something special.
Yeah, for me, just a little background on me. I'm currently a senior majoring in biomedical sciences and minoring in Spanish. I studied abroad in Valencia, Spain, the fall of my sophomore year through Gilman. I took majority Spanish classes while I was there, but also took like a history class and culture classes and kind of minor classes like dancing and sailing, just to kind of get to know the culture and the people. Gilman opened a lot of doors for me. I got to tour the embassy while I was in Spain. I actually got to meet the president of Spain, which was really neat. The king of Spain came to my school, and we kind of like had an assembly for him. So it was just a lot of different opportunities that Gilman offered once I was abroad. I got involved in my community by volunteering, tutoring kids in English after school, which is super neat. But also I just had the opportunity to meet people from all over the world and all over the US and make friendships that I still keep up with today. Like Dr. Cook said, I kind of struggled with how I was diverse, like what made me different, why do I stand out, why do I deserve this? And so if you are the same as me, I attest to what Dr. Cook said. I promise there's something special about you, there's something different. If I can get it, you can get it. It may be that you grew up in a super small town, or like me, I'm from a really big family, and so like I've never really had the opportunity to travel or to go. But whatever your case is, I promise you're important enough to get it, and we can find a way to make you stand out. So I would say don't hold back, don't fear you won't get it, and don't apply because of that. Like just try. It doesn't hurt to try. And if you do get it, it'll be worth it, and hopefully you'll come back with a whole bunch of memories as well.
Thank you guys for talking about your experience. And they've got like amazing pictures too. So if you want to harass them about some beautiful pictures from their times abroad, I feel like you can certainly do that and get some wanderlust yourself. Let's see what else we have here. Just ways to reach out to our offices. So to schedule a meeting with Dr. Cook. Dr. Cook, you're taking Zoom meetings still, right?
Oh, yeah.
All right, cool. She's like Zoom meeting every day. So
all the time. So yeah, email me at fellowships@uab.edu. You can also, if you call this phone number, leave a voicemail because it rings to my office, which I am in my house. I'm on campus a couple of days a week. So do leave a voice message. I will get back to you if you're a phone call type person. You can also look through my website is uab.edu/fellowships. And there are, Gilman isn't the only nationally competitive thing you could apply for that could send you abroad for different reasons. My office works with a ton of different awards with all sorts of students. So I'm a good person to know. Let's talk about Gilman, but then let's also talk about other things you might be interested in. Both Jonathan and Allison are currently working on Fulbright applications. Jonathan has also applied to and won a Clinton Scholarship to the American University of Dubai. I mean, there's pathways of applying for different scholarships for undergraduate opportunities in grad school as well. So fellowships@uab.edu, that is me.
whoop. All right. To reach out to us, as far as like selecting your program and getting through the actual program application side of it, in addition to your Gilman application, you can reach out to our office. Super easy to remember, just educationabroad@uab.edu. You can indeed call this phone number. I have it forwarded to my cell phone right now. So if you call and I'm just like, Felicia, who dis, then you've got the right person. So you feel free to call me. And then if you want to start looking at programs and you haven't already got the jump on that, then check out our website, uab.edu/education abroad. And then you can start looking through all those programs to make a good decision for your Gilman application. So this wouldn't be a finished presentation unless Dr. Cook and I also told you that there is a Gilman Canvas course that we can definitely get you guys involved with. What it serves to do, it's not like we're grading you on anything with Gilman or anything like that. It's basically takes these things that we've talked about today and makes them into an easy to do checklist for you on Canvas, just like going through the modules, typing up like a draft of your essay that will get sent to Dr. Cook to review. So if you are interested in that, please send one of us an email so that way we can get you involved in that course. Anybody that's on this call today, I will probably get you automatically enrolled in that course. But if you're watching this as a recording in the future, please let us know if you're interested in that. So that way you can take those easy steps to apply for Gilman. And with that, we've ran up the hour. Thank you guys so much for taking your time to meet with us today. Did you all have any questions that we can address while we're all here?